Hey dolls, welcome back to DivaDollFlawless. In today's video, I'm showing you how I used this Art Alternatives Gesso that I purchased from Joann's to prep and prime this Jot 1-inch binder from the Dollar Tree. I just simply removed the middle ring portion of it, and then I removed the plastic pockets that were on the inside. The purpose of using a Gesso is because Gesso is a primer. If you wanted to use chalk paint, I would think that you can go ahead and do that as well, because chalk paint does adhere to plastics. I used Gesso, and the reason why is because if I were to go on top of this plastic with any adhesives, eventually the book is just going to come apart. So that's the purpose of the Gesso. Now, to make sure that this was going to do what I wanted it to do, I went in with one coat of the Gesso first, and then I waited for it to dry. To speed up the drying process, I used my heat gun. Just make sure to go in sweeping motions and do not keep it in one area. Once the first coat dried and I tested it to see if it did what I thought in my head it would do, I went in with an additional coat of the Gesso, 2 thin coats on the front and then 2 thin coats on the back. After that, you can apply any adhesives of your choice to your binder to start covering it. Cover my binder, I'm combining 2 8.5 by 11 sheets of paper. These are a lavender color, but it's showing up a lot lighter on camera. And to keep everything in place, I used my Tonic Tim Holtz glass mat, and I just used some washi tape to tape it down onto my surface. And then I'm actually going to combine these by just overlapping them and gluing them. So as you can see here, on my paper, I just went and traced where I'm going to be placing my glue so that these 2 sheets of paper can be combined. That's where my glue is, and I'm just going to take my paper, line it up, and then use a bone folder to push everything down, okay? I already have the 2 sheets of paper adhered, and I'm just going to take them and bend them like this, just so I can start getting them prepped and ready to fold over the sides, okay? And then once everything is folded, I'm probably going to cut some slits here and here just to make this part easier. Oh, my washi tape is holding. Just to make this part easier to fold over. And y'all gonna have to excuse me. Like I said, at first I wasn't going to film this. I am using one hand to get this done and not in my normal filming space. So yeah. And just in case you don't know how to do this, when you go to fold this, to get rid of this little corner, just take and on each corner cut a slit here and then here and on all 4 corners so that you can fold your papers over and get rid of that little corner. So I wanted to let you know I used my fabric fix in order to hold this on, and it is definitely adhering. I just put my fabric fix down, and then I just took this, I flipped it over, and then I used my little We Are bone folder and pressed all over the back of this to spread that glue out, because you know that glue is very thick and it is holding, you guys. So yes, Gesso or chalk paint your binders and you will have yourself a pre-made cover. So I'm going to go ahead and finish covering this. Now keep in mind, if you wanted to, you could either add some acrylic paint to your Gesso, and especially if it's not a colored one, or you can just keep it white. It's up to you. Or you could Gesso and then add some chalk paint over top of this to get it the colors that you want. Or I will probably, the next time, I'm just going to go directly in with my chalk paint, because chalk paint will adhere to any surface just like a Gesso would. So hopefully this tip helps someone. I didn't even bother to check to look and see whether or not someone online had already done it. But I have Gesso, I have chalk paint, And I know that you use them as primers for adhesion. I'm going to start working on some of the elements for my front cover. So here we have a fabric quarter. A fabric quarter typically measures 18 inches wide by 21 inches long, okay? So I need my fabric piece that I want to use for my decorative binding. I need 2 inches wide by 11 inches long because this Jot binder is 9 inches long. So I need enough for it to wrap from the front to the inside so that it can get sealed and then covered by my inside papers, okay? So 2 inches wide, 11 inches long for my fabric. And then I'm going to do 2 pieces to the cover. So the first piece, this is from My Porch Prints on Etsy. And this measures 5.5 wide by 8.5 inches long. Okay. And I want to just mount this on a decorative piece. So I might just end up sewing it and maybe ripping the edges and inking it. So I'm going to take this piece, and I need it to be 5.75 across and 8.75 down. Now for the inside, you're going to need 2 sheets of paper, and it's up to you to determine what you want your sizing to be. I didn't do the material and all of that wrapped over. I just want to show you what the inside is going to be first before I start gluing everything down. But I'm just going to take 2 sheets of paper, and your measurements are going to be based off of how much of an offset you want from the outside. So decide that. But for me, I'm going to make sure that it stops. One sheet stops here in the middle. And then I'm going to do my crease so that my paper can still fold. And then I'm going to take this one and overlap it just a touch. Okay. And then do the same thing. Make sure that that fold gets put back in there. So far, this is what I have gotten completed for this cover, and I absolutely love how it is turning out. I will be filming the different parts of this junk journal in segments because junk journals are definitely a true labor of love. So one thing that I do want to note is that while I was inking up the pages, I realized that by covering the paper over top of the plastic, it gives the paper some air underneath it, and it actually makes it look like fabric in person. So this looks like an entirely covered with fabric cover. So I love that. I am just so excited. The binding for the pages that are going to go inside of the book is this crochet yarn that I purchased from Joann's, and I tend to use this a lot in my junk journals because I love the fact that when you open it up, you can just put little hooks and such on here and add your charms. Okay, now the way that I did it, I actually got this tip from My Porch Prints for the binding, is to just take your yarn, I'm using this, and then you wrap it around your book, and she actually brings hers down to the bottom, ties a knot, and then lets it hang down like that. But what I actually did, see, so then you would have all of your pieces hanging down and it adds a nice element. What I did was, instead of having my knot at the bottom, I left it at the top, and then the leftover pieces that you see here, I just grabbed one from each end that was left at the top and then tied it into a bow. These pieces are probably too long or too short, but I tied it into a bow and then added a bling piece to coincide from the side onto the top of the bow, and I can still add some charms on here if I want to. So that binding is not just decorative, but it's what's going to hold my junk notebooks on the inside. And there's going to be 3 different signatures. So let me just show you. I love this so much. Oh my goodness, I am so excited. Okay, so that's how my signatures would fit in there. So I would do 3. All right, and obviously the best thing about that is that, as you can see, I can just, if I wanted to, I can put my little inserts, sew them with the sewing machine, and then pop them in and out, or I don't even have to sew the papers. I can just put them together like that, which is typically how I do my junk journals anyway. I like making my signatures removable, especially once you've put in this amount of work into your cover. So like I said, I am going to film the rest of this in parts, but the main thing that I want you to get from this is simply that you can have your junk journal base done for you out of the dollar store Jot binders, and the paper will definitely adhere to it. This is a 7 by 9 inch. So when you put your 8.5 by 11 sheet signatures in there, you still actually have some space, but it's not such a huge journal. It actually fits really nice in the palm of the hand, so I love that. I did do a video on this element here that's also from my porch prints, and let me show you how nicely this fits in here. Okay, so I can decide to either glue it like this, and then it fits right in a book, which is going to add to, I love having things hang out at the top and the bottom of my journal. Or if I wanted to, I could actually glue this to one of my signatures, and it'll just be one of those elements inside of the book as I'm flipping through. So there is so much you can do. I cannot wait to finish this. See, it fits perfectly on this sheet. Okay, and then I can just close my book up. Now, I don't know what I'm gonna do as far as a closure goes. I'm thinking that I might use my I can't even think straight right now. I might just go ahead and punch a hole through this here and then just have a tie element. I'm not really sure, but either way, this is going to be nice and chunky, and I will definitely share as much of the steps as I can with you all. I know that this video is kind of long, but it is chock full of information that I know once I start showing these on my channel, someone's going to ask me about all of this. So I'm gonna take the time to do the longer video now as opposed to later. If you have any questions or comments, please post them below, and I will see you all in the next video. Have a gorgeous day, doll. Smooches. Mwah. Bye.